let's get ready for Mock Draft Fridays. Go! What is up, Bengals fam? It's your boy Mike coming back at you with another Who Daily. Tomorrow, it's draft season, baby. It's mostly draft most of the time here on the channel. So I'm going to do, on Fridays, every Friday I do a mock draft. So I wanted to actually take you through a PFF article that is it's basically by the numbers of the percentages, basically the percentages based on the big board, the PFF big board, of the percent chance that a player is going to be drafted at a certain position, and I think this is based on their big board, but also based on the probabilities from their mock draft simulators. So thousands and thousands of mock drafts being done, admittedly by mostly amateurs, but if you're a subscriber to big data, there are always signals in the noise. I'm a marketing professional. That's kind of what I do. Take big data, make targeted decisions with it. So I do happen to believe that they know what they're talking about a little bit. There is a kind of knowledge of the crowd situation that really kind of, more often than not, comes through in big data sets like this. However, let's take a look. I just want to run you through kind of what a lot of these aren't going to be surprising if you're taking a look. Like number one, and I think this is barring any trades, right? This is like ruling trades out. But Jacksonville, almost 50% shot they're drafting Aiden Hutchinson. The Lions, it's about a 20% shot they're drafting Thibodeau. And it'll be obviously Hutchinson if it's not Thibodeau. But Kyle Hamilton here sneaking on the board. 14% chance of them drafting Kyle Hamilton. Then you got the Texans. Obviously, I'm sure they would love their top choice is Kayvon Thibodeau. I'm sure they would love for that to happen. It definitely could. You could see the Lions taking Hamilton, and then now we start to see these offensive tackles show up on this. Evan Neal right here, the top tackle in this year's draft. And you look at the Jets, obviously you still see Thibodeau. So what this is telling you is that there's an equal chance for Thibodeau to get drafted with the second overall pick as likely as him falling to number 4. Right, but now you start to see the corners because the Jets have a need at corner. You start to see the corners come on to the board. So you got Sauce here, you got Derek Stingley Jr. here, and Ekwonu showing up. You can see how this starts to make sense, right? If people start to fall, if Thibodeau is still there at 4, he'll definitely be the pick, but more than likely he won't be. So that's why the corners are starting to show up, right? And now you can see Thibodeau's still on the board, but it's getting less and less likely he falls to this point. And Hutchinson's not on the board at all because it's almost guaranteed he's going number 1. So you see the Giants, they're probably going to take Ekwonu. It's 25% chance they're taking Ekwonu, and if it's not him, it's Evan Neal. So whatever tackle's left, Charles Cross is up there too. So whatever tackle's left, more than likely the Giants are taking. Carolina Panthers, again, looking at these tackles. So they'll take whatever tackle's sitting there. You can see quarterbacks starting to hit the board, though, with these quarterback-needy teams. The Panthers, you see Malik Willis. He's now becoming the favorite among the big brain, the galaxy brain experts, to be the first quarterback off the board because he's very toolsy, and he's very athletic, and he's all the stuff. He's got everything except for playing for a big school and winning anything important. So that he's probably going to end up being the first guy off the board because the ceiling is very high. Now, I say this, it's not a huge knock at Malik Willis. I mean, there have been plenty of quarterbacks who didn't really win much and didn't play for huge programs that went on to be really good in the league. Don't get it twisted here. I don't think Malik Willis is going to be a bust. That's not the take I'm having. He doesn't check all my boxes when you're drafting a quarterback in the first round. But now you can see these. You're seeing Tyler. This is how crazy it is because Tyler Linderbaum starts to show up at pick number 7, and there are lots of mock drafts where it has, and lots of experts have Tyler Linderbaum as the player that the Bengals should be targeting at 31. So you can see why there's all of this. All of the question marks around whether he'll be there because it's not unreasonable to think he could go in the middle 15, or middle 20 of this draft, and then the Bengals don't get. They don't get a shot to take him. So, so you see the numbers say that the Giants are probably looking at BPA. To be honest with you, like they're going to take the best corner or edge player available, and if one of these guys isn't available, they'll go offensive line. So yeah, looking at the Falcons, you can see the Falcons are mocked a bunch of wide receivers because they don't have any. I mean, they just got Auden Tate, who's going to be like their number 2, I think. And if that's a guy that in his Bengals career couldn't really see the field much unless there were injuries. So they are not deep at wide receiver, but you can't rule out if these corners are there, they may take one of these corners as well. Just kind of looking down. So Seattle, you can see if Malik Willis is there, they might take him. They are quarterback needy now. No way Charles Cross is there, so I think Charles Cross is going before 9. Number 10, New York Jets. Looking at wide receivers, man. Some of these guys. This is why you gotta be, as a Bengals fan, you gotta love what the Bengals have done from a roster building perspective. They don't need to worry about wide receivers for 4 or 5 years with the young guys they have. So that's really, they'll worry about depth and making sure they've got a good slot receiver and to accompany the guys they have. But they're not in a position to need to draft a receiver in the first round, which is awesome. A good place to be. The Commanders, looking at Devin Lloyd, that would be interesting. I really like Devin Lloyd. I think Devin Lloyd is more of a... His ceiling is Micah Parsons, which is a good ceiling, right? But you don't know if that's what you're going to get out of him. He's super athletic, really long, rangy linebacker, really fast. Probably not big enough to play a pure edge position, which is why I say more like Micah Parsons. You can move him around. And now you start to see guys like Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis makes an appearance here. But yeah, just looking down through here you see Tyler Linderbaum mentioned again, right? So that's at least 2 teams that PFF is saying if you want to draft Linderbaum, you got to watch these 2 teams, make sure he gets by them, right? But if you keep going down, the Texans, they're looking, probably wide receiver or BPA wide receiver or edge is what it's looking like here more than likely. And then now you start to see, if the Ravens, I think, would take either one of these Georgia defensive tackles. It'd be interesting to see which one they go with if they're both here. The Ravens like to have a really big, daunting, athletic nose tackle on their team. So Jordan Davis is I think that these are a little bit mixed up. I think Jordan Davis would be the pick here over Devontae Wyatt, but Devontae Wyatt's a beast too. So I've said many times on the show, I hope Devontae Wyatt slides. It's a long way to slide, but weirder things have happened. But taking a look at the Eagles, so new names showing up here. So we've seen Devin Lloyd, we've seen Karlaftis, Nakobe Dean, the linebacker, is showing up now on the board. But you can see the Eagles are a linebacker needy team, and in fact most NFL teams are not happy with their linebacker room. I think the Bengals got a lot of really good growth. They got exactly what they needed from a growth and maturity perspective out of their 2 young linebackers, Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson, and I think they're feeling good about the depth they have as well. Take a look at the Chargers. They're going to take, more than likely the Chargers will take whichever one of the Georgia defensive tackles the Ravens don't take, looks like. New Orleans Saints, they need wide receivers. They're probably going to take the BPA wide receiver, and you start to see names like Bernard Raymond show up here as well. I don't know what the league's going to think about Bernard Raymond, to be honest with you. He's 25 years old, 25. So on the older side, he's he didn't play tackle. This is the first year he played tackle. He's a converted tight end. He didn't play football growing up. He's from Germany or Austria. I'm not sure. He's from one of the Germanic countries. I could see him going at 18 here to New Orleans. I could see him not getting picked in the first round, to be honest with you. So a little bit of a head scratcher there. Now we start to see the top choice, and then on the first time he shows up is Andrew Booth Jr. To the Eagles here. I think that's a decent spot for him. This is one of the guys I've said, if he's there when the Bengals pick, sprint to the podium. Go up there and pick Andrew Booth Jr. He's the outside corner that you need for the future. And so you get Pittsburgh showing up here. They need a little bit of everything, but I've seen Malik Willis be mocked here, and I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if if Pittsburgh takes Malik Willis. Now, one thing that I know a lot of Cincinnati fans are really hoping doesn't happen is Malik Willis goes earlier and Desmond Ridder gets taken right here by the Steelers. But they do need, I don't think they're completely sold on Mitch Trubisky. Maybe, I mean, weirder things have happened, but a career renaissance, the kind of career renaissance Mitch Trubisky would have to make the Steelers a competitor in the AFC North would be unprecedented. I don't think there's ever been a quarterback that's been as mediocre as Mitch Trubisky has been, then just turn it around and be I mean, he's going to be in a battle. He's probably going to be in a camp battle with Mason Rudolph, for God's sake. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Steelers take a quarterback here. It's most important position, and they don't have one. So, if you've got two quarterbacks, you don't have any. So, they may be taking a quarterback there. Patriots looking at wide receivers. Patriots can and often do weird shit in the draft. So, who knows here? But wide receiver is definitely their need. So, anytime I say that a team's need is wide receiver here, guys, what I'm saying is the Bengals don't need to worry about who they draft because the Bengals aren't looking at wide receivers. So every wide receiver that goes in the first round, while you're watching the draft, every wide receiver that goes in the first round, clap, be happy about it. That means that players that the Bengals are actually looking at drafting are getting pushed down the board, which is great. Every quarterback and every wide receiver that gets taken, and running back for that matter, any of those guys get taken, clap, be happy about it. And linebacker, they're not going to draft a linebacker. So any of those positions get taken ahead of the Bengals. That means that players they actually are interested in drafting are going to get pushed down to them. So taking a look at the Cardinals at 23, this is where you see Tyler Linderbaum. And if Tyler Linderbaum and Devontae Wyatt are both here, whichever one isn't taken should be the one that the Bengals hope slides to them, to be honest with you, unless Andrew Booth is there. So taking a look at you can see now we're getting some really offensive line needy teams, right? So Arizona Cardinals, they need a center. The Cowboys, they need to tackle, I guess. I don't know. Their offensive line is pretty good. They did just lose Lael Collins, though. So maybe they will go Bernard Raymond. Bernard Raymond's too old to draft and then sit. If you're going to draft Bernard Raymond, you need to play him. So I think they may go a guy like Zion Johnson here over Bernard Raymond. But who knows, man? The Cowboys are the Cowboys. 25 Buffalo. Andrew Booth. I really don't think Booth makes it past here. I think Buffalo, if he's there, I think Buffalo takes him. This might be where the Andrew Booth Jr. dream dies for the Bengals here. The Tennessee Titans. Yep, they do need some interior offensive linemen. I think they need to get younger at the edge position. So two positions that the Bengals could be looking at drafting. Sitting here at 26 for Tampa Bay. Same thing with 26 for the Titans, and then same thing with Tampa Bay. Here they're going to draft probably offensive line. The options are starting to run a little thin for asking for these position groups to start sliding. And that's what you said. The Green Bay definitely needs wide receivers. I don't know which one, if they'll take one. Here's the thing about Green Bay: every year they need a wide receiver every year, and they never take one. So they may draft a quarterback here. I don't know, man. It's Green Bay. So that's a wild card to me. Kansas City gets 2 picks right in front of Cincinnati. So again, here, if at 29, whichever one of these two corners, Elam or Booth, whichever one of them is there, that's who they'll take, I think. And then they'll take the edge, the next player, edge or wide receiver, one of the two in the next one. And that leaves the Bengals with I think Elam's gone. I think there are too many. This is not a deep draft for corners, meaning that it's very top heavy from a talent perspective. There are some guys later that if you dig a little deep into this draft, there are some guys that can give you value in the later rounds. But as far as like your outside one-on-one man corners, they're all going to go in the top 25 in this draft, more than likely. I really would be surprised if Kaiir Elam fell. So you're looking at guys like hoping that Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson fall, which is teams do have rules about drafting interior offensive linemen. It's not just the Bengals. Other teams have rules about we're not going to draft a guard at in the top 20. It's just not going to happen because there's no such thing as a guard that gives your team enough value to justify that high of a pick. So you could be looking at a guard here. This might be BPA IOL territory for the Bengals here, but I don't think so, because I think they're happy with what they did with their offensive line in the offseason. I think they're looking to get younger at other positions. And I think that if Lewis Cine, which is right here, is the first time you're seeing Lewis Cine's name pop up. If you've watched my drafts before, I have mocked Lewis Cine to the Bengals. Lewis Cine is an athletic freak. He's like 6'2", 200 pounds, and he runs like a 4.3 40. Plays safety for Georgia. Could be a 1-to-1 replacement for Jesse Bates if they can't extend him. And even if they can extend him, I think Lou Anarumo would be very, very comfortable going to a lot more two free safety looks and two free safety shell looks with two athletes like that on the back end. So really, I think what it comes down to is the Bengals are going to take BPA here. I think you can mark some positions off. Obviously, they're not going to draft a wide receiver here. They're not going to draft a running back. They probably won't draft a running back, period, in this entire draft. They won't draft a linebacker this high. They won't draft a tight end this high. I know some of you guys are really loving, Trey McBride, and the Bengals did go to Colorado State's pro day, and the Bengals tight end coach was he actually running the drills for Trey McBride. That's cool. They also go to a lot of camps and run drills and do stuff for a lot of different players. They don't get the chance to draft all of them. I would assume they're working out Trey McBride in the off chance that he slides to them in the second round, not as an option in the first round. So just wanted to show you guys, just based on the numbers, this is kind of a big data experiment based on all the thousands of mock drafts that are run through the PFF system all the time, plus their ranking system and their grading system, all kind of boiled into odds for where these players are going to go. This is the closest thing you're going to get to like a real data-driven look at potential draft slots for these players. And I thought it was really cool because it shows you like where players show up for the first time as a potential of being picked and how long they last. Meaning there's a lot of uncertainty, right? There's a lot of uncertainty that of where they're going to be picked because there are like 10 teams in a row that could be looking at picking them. However, when you see a guy show up and then not, like a guy like Hutchinson or a guy like Thibodeau, like they'll show up and be there for 3 or 4 picks and then they're gone because it's like, well, they're not making it past. There's a hard floor. They're not making it past these guys. So those guys you can all mark off, right? If there are hard floors for them, for how far they'll drop, they're all mark off. So what we're looking at is how far can they drop? What's the value here? What position is BPA going to be, and make the right decision. I actually at this point I think the Bengals draft really well under Zach Taylor. I think there are a few clunker picks along the way, but they've gotten value late in drafts. They've really maximized their first round picks really well under Zach Taylor. So I'm not too worried about it. I trust the coaching staff to keep that trend going and to get the Bengals back, not only back into the playoffs next year as a Super Bowl runner-up, but make it back to the something that hardly ever happens, the Super Bowl runner-up making it back to the Super Bowl, and this time they're going to win it. And I'll be right there watching it with you guys, but until then, keep joining me every day here for Who Daily. I've been Mike. This has been Who Daily. See ya!